Mercenary might look as a for fun trait to some people, but it is incredibly powerful when used correctly. In this video, I'll be going over how the Mercenary trait works, and its full loot table, how to play Win Streak Mercenary, and then how to play Loss Streak Mercenary. Mercenary works similar to Fortune from set 4, but it is different in the way it gives you rewards. Every time you lose while having Mercenary active, you roll a dice. The symbol on the dice are pretty confusing, but they represent something you get into your chest from the loot table. Instead of memorizing all the combinations, you can just right-click the item inside the chest, and it will tell you the last thing that was added. As you can see here, a defensive item component was added into the chest. In order to cash out and get the content in your chest, you need to win a round while 3 Mercenary is active. If you have 5 Mercenary in, it works the same way as 3 Mercenary, but the rewards are better. When you need to win, you can just drop down to 3 Mercenary, as all you need to cash out is an active chest on your bench. 7 Mercenary rolls a third dice that gives you extra stuff whenever you win, but nothing if you lose. So only play 7 Mercenary if you are strong and you can win streak with it. Now let's take a look at the loot table. We have the 7 Mercenary loot table on the right side, which shows you what you can get every time you win. For the rest of the table, 5 Mercenary adds plus 3 losses to every point, so if you're win streaking with 5 Mercenary, it's like cashing out a 3 loss streak with 3 Mercenary in every single turn. The orange bar means you low rolled a dice. If you get the orange content, you can't low roll again for another 2 turns. The green bar means you got a lucky dice roll. For every turn when you don't get a lucky dice roll, the chance is increased by 5%, and the chance to get an unlucky dice roll gets lowered by 5% once that is active again. What you see in the first row of each table are the dice symbols that show what you get. If you want this whole loot table for yourself, it's linked in my Discord server, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. Now that you actually know what you're looking at and how the loot table works, let's take a look at each one. At 0 loss, which means you won the round, you just get gold, which is a nice way to increase your gold count and lets you hit interest more often. At 1 and 2 lost, you just get more gold, or a component if you high rolled. At 3 loss, you get gold most of the time, but you can also get a Nico or a Thieves Club, which is huge. At 4 loss, you get mostly components and gold. And at 5 loss, you get gold, or you can get a tome of traits or loaded dice if you get lucky. At 6 loss, that's when it starts getting pretty spicy. Now you have a decently high chance of hitting forecast units. And at 7 loss, we get more champions and way more gold. At 8 loss and beyonds, it gets even more juicy. Now we get items, forecasts, and legendaries if we get lucky. At 9 loss, we have even higher odds for Nikos and 5-cost units. And at 10, 11, and 12 loss, what we get is just insane. We get a boatload of Nikos, a boatload of 5-costs, tome of traits, force of natures, or just insane amounts of gold. I will go more in depth on why the loot table matters and what you should do with this information in the loss streak part of the video. By Win Streak Mercenary, I mean that you're playing the trait while having a strong enough board to win relatively often, not building up more than a 2 or 3 loss streak at most. If we look at the loot table, that means you'll only get gold with the occasional component. This means that we have more money to spend on leveling or to save up econ with. In addition, while we are running Mercenaries as a board, we want to run GP as the carry. He has the ability to get additional gold if he kills someone with his ability. You want to run a Win Streak Mercenary board when you have a strong board that you cannot guarantee a loss streak with unless you start selling units. This way we want to win streak to get as much gold from the streaking gold, but the second we lose our streak, we can just chill and focus on our economy instead. Once we want to cash out again, we can do it by pushing levels to get a little ahead, and even roll a little at times. The best times to do this is on off intervals. These are points in the game where people usually don't power spike. These are turns such as 2-3 where you can go level 5, 3-1 where you can go level 6, or 3-5 where you can go level 7. It's not unheard of for regular comps to level on these intervals, but most of the time people do not level or power spike here. By power spiking on off intervals, we're usually catching people off guard since they might be planning to power spike in a turn or 2. This way, we can get our small cash out, and then we get the gold it costs to power spike back, putting us even further ahead of the lobby. One thing to add is that you need to be a bit careful of not falling into the mercenary prison. If we go back to the loot table, the cash outs aren't that interesting until you start getting closer to 6 losses or higher. Therefore, you generally never chase cash outs unless they are 6 losses or higher. The only exception to this rule would be if you have enough HP to sack a couple more rounds, while also having enough gold to power spike on an off interval to cash out. I know it feels bad, but most of the time, it's correct to drop mercenaries to roll for your comp and new carry if the loss streak isn't too high. Once you cash out or pivot, The best pivots from win streak mercenaries are Chemtech Urgot, Jin, or Lux Carry. By lost streak mercenary, I mean that you can play mercenary early on, and your goal is to get at least an 8 lost cash out and then pivot into a legendary or 4-cost carry comp from there. You want to do this when you have a weak opener and you have mercenary early on, meaning you have 3 mercenary by 2-5 at the latest. To get 3 mercenary in, you need at least one 3-cost unit. Therefore, you always want to pre-level on 1-4 to get a level 4 shop. This way, we have the chance to see 3 costs in our shop on stage 2-1. Once you get 3 mercenary in, you obviously want to lost streak to build up the payout. Therefore, you start to scout to see how strong the other players are. The hardest part about playing lost streak mercenary is making your board as strong as possible without being able to win any rounds. Looking back at the loot table, we know that the juicy stuff comes at 8 losses or higher. Assuming we had mercenary in on stage 2-1, we want to cash out on stage 3-5 or later. This way, we will get all our goods, and we will be win streaking from there until at least the end of stage 4 in most cases. Since the payouts get better and better, we want to maintain our loss streak for as long as possible. Once you get to 40 HP or lower, you should be looking to cash out within the next turn or two. If you cash out on stage 3-5 with an 8 loss streak, you will most likely have gotten a ton of gold and some forecasts. This means that we can get direction really early towards a comp and also have enough gold to hit level 8 or 9 very early on. Now let's talk about how to force a large loss streak cash out. You will do this by leveling up, then roll for a carry you have items for. You need to run 3 mercenary to cash out, so we also need to run a worse version of that board, but this is fine as we will be ahead of the power curve with all the gold we have accumulated from the loss streak and invested into a new team comp. Now to understand this a little bit better, let's take a look at an example. Here I really pushed the limits and I'm 1 HP, so we obviously have to cash out here. As soon as the round starts, I instantly level to 8 and roll for a Lux board. I choose Lux as my carry as I'm level 8 and therefore I can't find a legendary 2-star consistently here. But I want to replace Talon, Urgot, and Zac for Arcanus and Bodyguards. But I also have to be very flexible since I don't have all the gold in the world. Once I hit the units, I quickly fix my positioning and then I hope I win. But after you win, the job is far from over. Now you need to check your rewards. Since you can get drop champions, you want to clear your bench so you have space for them to land. In addition, don't run over the orbs, as any champions you don't have space for on the bench, those will be insta-sold, and the last thing we want is to be losing 5-cost units. I sell the mercenaries that I don't need anymore, and then I start rolling again. At this point, I stick to Lux carry, and I build a board around her. Since I'm also 1 life, I use all my components to make items. In the second example, I accidentally cashed out 1 turn prior, and so from here I had a lot more time to think about since I picked up a lot of loot on the Wolf's turn. With more than 100 gold in the bank, I could comfortably level up next turn and roll for my comp, which was Priora carry in this case since I had IE, JG, and Hodge for her. First, I sold the units I didn't need and rolled for the rest of my team. Since I had Pandora's items, the transition was a little bit more hectic than it could have been, as I had to find units to hold onto the items I did not want to reforge. Next turn, I finish off the transition by putting in my final level 8 team and placing the last items. Mercenary is a ton of fun, and although I don't recommend you force it every game, some of you are going to do it anyways. So for those that want to force mercenaries every single game, here is how you do it. On the starting carousel, always go for Alawi if she is there. It doesn't matter what item she has, you are just looking for the unit. This is to make sure we have 1 out of 3 mercenaries from the start. You always pre-level to 4 on 1-4 to get a level 4 shop so you have the chance of hitting Gangplank and MF, while also having a slightly higher chance to hit Quinn. If you hit 3 mercenary on stage 2-1, congratulations. If not, you have 2 different options. Option 1 is to roll for 3 mercenaries. This is for those that are insane enough and want to chase that high risk with a high reward. If you do hit mercenary on 2-1, you're actually not in a bad spot as you have more time to accumulate that giant cash out. But if you are on stage 2-1 with 0 gold and without 3 mercenary, well, I warned you that option 1 was insane. If you are a level-headed person though, the other option is to save your gold and open for it from there. At the stage 2 carousel, pick up Quinn, MF, or GP to get another mercenary in. And at stage 2-5, if you still don't have 3 mercenary, then you can either roll for it if you are insane, or you can do the smart thing and keep the loss streak. From there, either roll at level 6 on 3-2 to stabilize with another comp, or loss streak all the way to 3-5 and then do a level 7 all-in to stabilize with another comp. Like I said at the beginning of this segment, I do not recommend you force fortune every single game, so do this strategy at your own risk. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got nearly 4,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.